College football season is right around the corner, and the ACC kickoff is happening currently. We take a look at previews and predictions for each of the teams, and tonight we start out with the Florida State Seminoles. That and more on tonight's episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
We welcome you in here to another episode of the Crowded Booth podcast. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Ralph Leary and Will Manis. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below, which people over the past couple of days have not been afraid to leave comments down below. Boomer Sooner for the Oklahoma fans, and then
we love the comments.
LSU fans will. We know we love the comments, and it's a lot of fun. But also, if you're listening on our podcast platforms, let's give a little round of applause, guys. I haven't told you this, guys, yet. We surpassed 1,500 downloads for a week. So in 1 week, 1,500 downloads for just 3 episodes, and it was one of the lightest weeks we've ever done. And hey, that's good news as well. So believe podcast, Spotify, Apple, all those things. Big
one step at a time. One step at a time.
One step at a time. Well, you know what? A program that has taken a couple steps and trying to make that next step, it's the Florida State Seminoles. Hot debate. Will Florida State be better in 2024 than they were 2023? That's really kind of hard to do. We've talked about Florida State earlier in our series when we took, just a look at each program and kind of their outlook coming out of spring and heading into the summer. So today we are going to take a look at these schedules, and we're going to go by through a preview and predictions. Each guy's going to have their own individual record, we think, and we're kicking it off with Florida State. Tomorrow will be Clemson, and then we'll work our way through the ACC. Pitt will not be recorded because I don't feel like doing that, and I'm just refused to do that. So
we're doing Boston College also?
All right. Yes, we will do Boston College.
I think the bigger question, will we do Stanford?
No. If we do Stanford, then we're going to have to record like a UTEP one, and I don't know if I'm okay with that. So we do give love to college.
Yeah, just the minors, man.
Hey, Kennesaw State in my road to glory, we're 8-4 playing Liberty in the Conference USA title game. So, but I am transferring out. We'll tell you that right now. I'm entering the portal. All right, let's lock it in. Florida State with a wild kind of schedule, guys. Is if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the schedule pulled up. If you're listening, you're just going to have to trust us. I'm going to run through the schedule as is. Obviously, and all of our eyes are going to be on this game, guys. August 24th in Ireland. They're going to take on Georgia Tech. That's a weird game to start off the season with. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. They come back on a Monday, so the following Monday, they're going to literally come back from Ireland and kind of get a normal week because they don't play till that Monday night of Labor Day weekend. They're going to host Boston College. Norvell takes on his old team in this friendly confines, Memphis. They're going to play Cal, SMU, which is one a lot of people are excited about in the ACC. Then right after SMU, Ralph raises his hand. He says, yes, he is. They open up October with Clemson, and then a bye week, Duke, Miami.
Friday night. Hey, Duke on a Friday night, by the way.
Yeah.
In Durham, which last year would have probably been a more fun matchup, and it was a fun matchup. It still could be. Ralph was high on Duke. North Carolina to start November, and then Notre Dame, and then Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers, and then they'll wrap it up with Florida Thanksgiving weekend. So that's the schedule. That's the 12-game schedule. And I think, guys, how we're going to do this is we're going to roll through each game. We're going to kind of just talk about, we don't have to go overly into it, but we'll start this off because this is one a lot of the viewers of the channel are going to really want to know. You and I were texting. We all were texting about this earlier today when we said we were going to talk about Florida State. Look, week 0, you're playing. I've said this, and I'll talk about this when I go through Georgia Tech's schedule. This is probably the game that this is probably where you want Florida State. If you're going to pull off this upset, you have to play in week 0 with a brand new quarterback in their system and, a lot of new faces that maybe haven't gelled together. Add in the fact that you're playing literally across the pond and then some. Your thoughts. We're going to hand the baton to you to start off this race, and then we'll kind of go down the pecking order here. Georgia Tech, Florida State, for Florida State sole purposes, how do you feel like this game shakes out?
What What's the spread? They're a 2-touchdown favorite, I think. Still at the time of recording this, and I think that's spot on. I think Florida State just has too many better players, too many better athletes, just across the board than Georgia Tech. But like you said, Georgia Tech has that continuity factor.
Yeah.
They get a lot of their skill players on offense back, and Florida State they had to do a lot of work in the portal. They lost a lot of talent to the NFL. And I think Mike Norvell did a great job in the transfer portal, but it almost feels like it's almost like it's a brand new team, right? Obviously, you've got guys that played smaller roles last year that will likely step up this year and play bigger roles. But I agree with you. If you're going to get Florida State, I think it's week 0, and for them to get Georgia Tech, that's a recipe for an upset. But again, I just think Florida State has too good of athletes. I think there's too many question marks on Georgia Tech, especially the lines of scrimmage. I think Florida State will be able to handle them on both lines of scrimmage and just kind of move them around as they want to. But, getting to see DJU back in the ACC for the first time, throwing him right into the fire against a team that's going to put up points. Georgia Tech, they're going to do a lot. So it's going to take a good game from DJU. I wouldn't even say a great game. It's going to take a good game, but I like Florida State to do it. I think that they can just go into Dublin and just kind of do what they want to do.
Yeah, no, I'm going to spoil my Georgia Tech preview in this, but I do think Florida State pulls this one out. I do like what Will said, and look, this could change by the time we get to week 0 and we take a more in-depth preview of this game. Fall camp storylines come out, maybe some injuries here or there, or different things start to come to light. I'm going Florida State in this one. I think that they are just a little too talented. I think that Mike Norvell is a fantastic head coach. Just in terms of X's and O's and being able to put his guys in the right position. And like Will said, they've hit on the portal pretty well. And you're going to hear us talk a lot about that, throughout this episode. Is Florida State has done a really, really good job in the portal in previous seasons. Can they replicate that, in 1 year? I think it's hard, but I think they did a pretty good job, and they've got a lot of weapons. So I'm going Florida State over Georgia Tech. I do think this is a game where Tech could cover the spread. This could be a really fun football game, and I think it will. I think this is going to be a fun football game and a closer one. And just a teaser for Tech fans, I think this is where you're going to earn a lot of respect on the national stage. You might not like it. Brent Key's not going to sit there and wave his hand about any moral victories. But when you're talking about reality, I do think Georgia Tech can earn a lot of respect in this game from national football fans who maybe don't pay attention to the Jackets week in and week out. But I think Florida State wins. Ralph, real quickly, your take on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Florida State. I think Florida State's just, I mean, they lost a lot in the NFL. We saw that last year and what they did, and their season last year was so great. But they bring in a lot of talent. You're talking about some guys from Alabama. You had Colorado's number 1 corner off the board out of portal, Amarian Cooper. Cam Riley from Auburn. I mean, you loaded up from the portal.
That's not an addition.
Look, I know it's not an addition compared to you, but you bring back guys who know what they're doing. They're not just true freshman linebackers. These are guys who played SEC football already. And they know the competition's level it is, and so you bring in veterans, is what you would say. Guys who have played the game, who've stepped on the fields before, played against the best. So these guys are prepared, and they're not. It's not going to take too long to get these guys in motion, and they'll be ready week 0. And like Will said, I think they've got too much talent on their side of the ball. I think Georgia Tech has obviously done a great job this past year in their season and what they've done, and they brought in some good talent with them. But I just think Florida State just overpowers them just a little bit, and probably going to be late in the game. I mean, Georgia State's going to keep it close for the first half, first 3 quarters, but I think Florida State just pulls away.
Yeah, I like it. I absolutely like it. All right, so we've all got Florida State knocking off Georgia Tech in Ireland. Guys, we're going to kind of run through this. You look at the next couple of games, and I will tell you this. I think that home against Boston College, home against Memphis, and home against Cal, I feel comfortable going 4-0 to start this season. When you look at this, are we all kind of in agreement? Maybe 4-0, or any things you want to talk about?
I want to just add one. I know Will's probably got one more too. That Memphis game is one you don't overlook. I think
absolutely.
Memphis is probably the second or third best group of 5 team this year. I would probably put them up right below Tulane right now, and I think that Memphis they're locked in. And they want to have a big win this year. Look to watch Florida State week 3 coming off a week 0, winning against Georgia Tech, come back home and play immediately after that. You get a week off, but are you prepared for that?
Yeah.
Are you mentally and physically ready to go again and face a really good team? It's not a cakewalk game.
Yeah.
So.
I agree. Seth Hennigan's a very good quarterback. Will, your thoughts?
Yep.
I've got Florida State at 4-0. Ralph, are you sticking with 4-0
I'm sticking
in
at
that
4-0,
case?
but that week 3 is a little questionable.
watch.
Week 2, sorry.
Yeah.
No, week 3. Week 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at that week 1 game against Boston College. That is not going to be a fun game for them to coming back from Dublin, and you come right back into a conference game against Boston College, who, I've talked bad about them a lot because they hired Bill O'Brien, and I still don't like it. But they got some playmakers. They got a playmaker at quarterback in Castellanos. That's going to be a tough game. Coming right off that big trip to Ireland, but I'm going to stick 4-0. I agree with Ralph. You got to watch for Memphis. I think Memphis will be fired up to play Mike Norvell. So you got to factor that in. And Cal, poor Cal. They got to travel. It's like twice the circumference of the planet this year. Their schedule is ridiculous, and I don't see much coming from Cal. So I'm 4-0 too.
Can Boston College wear the red bandana jerseys on the road?
Because
so they might have a chance to win that game like they did last year. They took Florida State to the very end and held them to like the last minute of the game. So
a lot of people don't remember Jordan Travis got knocked out of that game momentarily.
Yes, he did.
And that was a big storyline. So, all right, we're all starting off 4-0. Now, this is the one, we're not going to go too much in depth with it because this is one where it's new ACC blood. You're going to prove your point. You got to go out to Dallas. Dallas is going to be rocking for this one inside Gerald J. Ford Stadium. I will say this. I think Florida State wins it. I think that it is a welcome to the ACC moment for SMU. I do think SMU's done a good job. Obviously, Rhett Lashley said today at ACC Media Days that they went and talked to other players. He talked to your boy Neil Brown, Ralph, about transitioning and what it was going to be like. And you had to do the offensive line. 13 of the 20 transfers SMU brought was in the trenches. I'm going Florida State to start 5-0 though going into that Clemson game. I think they're just Malik Benson is going to have a game where he goes off. I think SMU, while they're good and they're going to be well respected in terms of they don't have a hard schedule, they're going to play well. I've got Florida State going 5-0 rolling into October.
Yep. This is an SMU podcast. Don't confuse that. Don't get it twisted. But I'm with you. I think Florida State's just too much for them. But I love Rhett and I love SMU. But not on September 28th. Am I going to love them to win that game?
Yeah. Ralph, any thoughts on that SMU game? How do you feel? Because it's a swing game. I mean, if SMU shows up at home and stakes their claim, maybe, but I feel confident, or I'm going to say comfortable saying F Florida State right now.
I don't want to go with the trend here and say 5-0. I want to say Florida State is their welcome to ACC. They turn it around. I think SMU lets Florida State come in and get beat. I think Florida State overestimates what SMU really is. I think they're really talented offensively. I think they're a scary good team this year. Preston Stone, obviously, this is preseason. A lot can happen from here on.
Oh yeah, by the time we get to this game, yeah.
I could probably redact this statement later on, but I'm going to go SMU with the first ACC win, and Florida State's going into Clemson 4-1.
I like it. So Will and I've got it at 5-0 apiece.
Pony up
4-1 heading into Tallahassee, where you get to host Clemson. A lot of people think that this is going to be the ACC's premier opportunity to host College Game Day. I haven't looked at what else is going around in college football, but you can't only go to the same teams a certain amount of times. This feels like where you're going to want to make a trip to Doak Campbell Stadium. I am going to put it out here right now. We're recording Clemson, and we're releasing that one tomorrow. Fellas, I think Florida State wins this. I think DJU exacts revenge. I'm going to take Florida State to beat Clemson. Now, once again, this is the month of July. I've got Florida State 6-0 heading into Duke. Well, I see you shaking your head, so let me know your thoughts, because it looks like you may be going against me here, going with the Tigers.
I disagree. I'm going Clemson. I think Dabo Swinney and that program, they're ticked off. They're tired of the Tylers from Spartanburg telling them that they don't know what they're doing, even though they win 9 games a year. They've got Kay Klubnik back. Garrett Riley's back as offensive coordinator. I think that is a very underrated aspect for a lot of programs. We see it a lot of programs. Second year offensive coordinator gets his quarterback back from year one. I think that means a lot. Dabo Swinney got convinced Matt Luke to come out of retirement and coach his offensive line.
Yeah.
I think that is possibly the hire of the offseason. And I think you're going to see a new attitude on offense for Clemson at every level. And, Cade Klubnik ran DJU out of Clemson, took his job and made him transfer. And, you've got to think that the wide receiver room is going to be better for Clemson. They couldn't get much worse than they were last year. And defensively, Clemson doesn't have to worry about anything. I think they may have the best front seven in the country, and that unit is 2 deep and 3 deep at some of the positions on the front seven. I think Clemson is just better than Florida State. The way that they play, the way that we saw them run the ball last year, they should be able to do it again and do it better this year. That's huge on the road. Obviously, like you said, Doak Campbell's going to be rocking, but I'm going the Clemson Tigers. I think Clemson is back in 2024.
I like it. Ralph, your thoughts on that Clemson game?
Well, I agree with Will. I really do. I think this is the year they turn it all around. I think Klubnik's on his best year. I think that defense is great. I think Doak Campbell just takes over a little too much. I think Doak Campbell is rocking. It's probably going to be a night game. Bryce, look at the schedule for that week. It's probably going to be a game day because the rest of the schedule, the only other good games that week are Michigan and Washington and Auburn, Georgia. Honestly, that's the only good games that week. Unless South Carolina and Ole Miss are both undefeated, that might be a one.
Yeah,
that'd be about it though.
Well, here's the thing, Ralph. You can't just throw out there that the ACC is going to get a primetime game. I mean, you're forgetting that the number one broadcaster for this conference is the CW. So this could be the 2:30 kickoff on the CW.
And the lead broadcaster is Tom Brenneman, and Nick Castellanos might still be playing baseball at this time of the year. So who knows? It's an inside joke for baseball content people, if you pay attention to that.
Nobody does, Bryce. You just got educated. Nobody watches baseball.
Knows. You're right. Ralph, so win or loss?
I'm going loss, though. I think Clemson.
So Ralph's going back-to-back losses.
I think this, like I said, this all can be redacted later on.
Yes. Ralph's using the word redacted. He's really been into politics lately, thinking about redacted files, stuff like that, redacted info. All right, so we have Florida State going into the bye week. Let's do a tally check. Will has them at 5-1. I've got them at 6-0, and Ralph has them at 4-2. Guys, we're not going to break down all of these games. I do want to hear what you think over the back half of the schedule. I will go with mine really quickly. I am going to go win against Duke. I'm going to loss against Miami, win against North Carolina, loss against Notre Dame, win against Charleston Southern, and win against Florida. I will end it with this. 10-2 with losses to Miami, Notre Dame. You might say, Bryce, how in the world is this happening? I think Cam Ward might go off. And I think that this idea that Miami just can't be good or can never realize the potential might be a little bit overblown. Florida State's got to go there. I know that's not a rocking environment, but if Miami is at a point where they've knocked off Virginia Tech, they've kind of played themselves into a late October ACC title hunt game, which I think they can. I think Cam Ward's going to be a lot for a defense that's going to be good, but not great. I think Florida State's defense is going to be good. I don't think they're going to be dominant. And then Notre Dame just going up there. I know DJU played against Notre Dame his freshman year, played admirably. Notre Dame did win that game, but I think he's going to end his college career 0-2 in South Bend. So I'm going 10-2 losses to Miami and Notre Dame over the back half of that schedule. And I think Notre Dame's going to be a solid team. I think that's a game where Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman are going to put up some type of big home win, and that's one I think they could put up, especially when you talk about Notre Dame's other games, around that schedule, around that time of the year. So 10-2 with losses to Miami and Notre Dame is what I'm rolling with Florida State. I believe their over-under win total per bet online was 9.5 or 10. I don't remember where it was sat exactly. We'll take a look at that here in a second. But Will, give me your back half of the schedule, how you think this kind of fills out.
Yeah, so I've got them winning that Friday night game at Duke. I've got them beating Miami on the road, back-to-back road wins. I have them coming home and beating North Carolina, trying to get some fans back from our Georgia Tech viewers. But I have them going up to South Bend and losing, just like you. I think going up there in November is going to be real tough for them. I've got them beating Charleston Southern and beating Florida, so I'm 10-2 with you as well, with losses to Clemson and Notre Dame. I'm with you. I like what Marcus Freeman has built up there, and built or just carried on from Brian Kelly. but some people tell me Brian Kelly's not an elite coach. I don't understand that. But Riley Leonard coming into Notre Dame, really good quarterback. I remember he's got to get revenge from Florida State. He played banged up against Florida State and was really the reason why Florida State pulled that game out against Duke last year. But I like what you said about them beating Miami, and it made me remember the ACC has a potential to just beat each other up all year. So a lot of these games almost feel like toss-ups, honestly, just because we know of how competitive the ACC is. But yeah, I'm going 10-2 with losses to Clemson and Notre Dame.
And per Bet Online, before we get to you, Ralph, that would put them over their over-under win total. It's at 9.5. So we have both of them going that. We'll in later shows we'll get into our ACC title game picks, but that should put them in good position with one conference loss to reach Charlotte. Ralph, I know you've already got them at 4-2. So if they're going to reach Charlotte with already 2 conference losses, they're going to have to go undefeated. Walk me through this back half of the schedule. Do you think they slip up once more, or do you think they run the table?
Look, I'm with you on the first 3 games. I think they win Duke. I think they beat Miami. I think they come home, play North Carolina, and beat them. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. I'm with you though in Notre Dame. I've kind of looked at Notre Dame's roster. They're built really extremely well this year. They got a great quarterback with Riley Leonard this year, and Marcus Freeman is a great defensive head coach.
Yeah,
I say that because he is a great defensive coordinator, but he's also a great defensive head coach. He knows what he's doing. He's bringing great recruits year in, year out. He's building his roster, and this is what he's, obviously he inherited a lot from Brian Kelly, but a lot of those guys stayed when Brian Kelly left. And a lot of those guys have wanted to play for Marcus Freeman. So I'm going lost at Notre Dame. They finished out the season with 2 more wins. I'm going to go in 9-3.
I like it. I'll also add this, and not really talked about. We're going to talk more when we talk Notre Dame. Notre Dame brought back Mike Denbrock, LSU's offensive coordinator, this past year, and I think that's going to be a big piece to unlocking Riley Leonard as a legitimate weapon and a guy that's going to be, I think, one of the not the ACC's best quarterbacks. Shout out Jesse Simonton of On3, who threw that graphic out there and got roasted. But that is what it is.
I do want to say one more thing though. If that game on November 30th was in Gainesville, and Florida is without their head coach and Lagway's at quarterback, I might flip that game around because that would be they're not playing for much. They just want to go out there and play. They just go out there and just ball out.
I like it. All right, so Will, you've got them at 10-2 with losses to Clemson and Notre Dame. I've got Florida State at 10-2 with losses to Miami and Notre Dame. And then Ralph, you've got them at, I believe, 9-3 with losses to Clemson, SMU, and Notre Dame. So look, I mean, and we'll kind of wrap it up with this right here, fellas. I mean, you looked at this schedule, you saw what they were able to do. We've all got them in that 9 to 10 win range. That should put them in position to make the playoff. Now, not going to spoil conference title games, and we're going to get to that later on. I do feel comfortable saying, though, with mine, I think that I'm putting them in Charlotte at 10-2 with 1 conference loss. Will, yours is going to be more interesting. Ralph's is going to be super interesting. And both of you guys with 2 conference losses and how the rest of the ACC shakes up. But any final thoughts as we round this up? Everyone kind of thinking Florida State's going to be super, super good, a talented team. I don't see them, and I'll say this, when you go back and look at that schedule, I don't see them dropping below 9 wins. Something's going to have to go wrong. Maybe DJU's not good. Maybe he's not ready to come back to the ACC and compete week in, week out. Your guys' thoughts. We'll hand it to you first, and then Ralph to end it.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a team that is poised to compete for the ACC title and a playoff spot. Unfortunately for them, though, with the rest of their conference, the ACC, you might have to win it to get in the playoff. I mean, it's just kind of the reality. Even if you win 10 games, I doubt they'll leave out a 10-win team, but I mean, they left Florida State out last year. Do they do it again if Florida State makes the ACC title game and loses it? But, in the ACC, it's a fun conference. It's a very competitive conference, I think, top to bottom, but they just don't get the love and the respect nationally because they kind of beat each other up. And, if you want to make the playoff in this conference, you may have to win the conference title game. So, but, with the state of their program, I think it's ACC title and playoff or bust for them anyway. So, that's where they want to be.
Yeah. Ralph, any final thoughts to conclude our Florida State conversation?
Yeah, I mean, just simple. Norvell's got this team right where he wants them. after building off of last 2 years. Honestly, this team's top tier is what they were, 3 or 4 years ago. They're gonna have a good run this year. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. They could go undefeated. They could lose. They can win 8 games, 7 games. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think Norvell's got this team right where he wants them. I think they're a super talented team. They're prepared game in, game out, no matter what it is. They can have a shortened week if they needed to, and they still feel like they're prepared. So, Florida State, man, this is going to be a fun season for those Florida State fans.
Yeah, it is. And I'm kind of with you. Fringe playoff team if you don't make the ACC title game. I'll just spoil it. I mean, with one conference loss, I think they're in Charlotte, and they might be the home team. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. All right. Ralph Leary, Will Manis, my name is Bryce Koon. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out all the content we've got coming on. We're going to be getting into our live shows more often, and obviously getting out to some games too, starting with that Georgia State game in Atlanta. Going to be a lot of fun. Come join us for a tailgate. Come join us for a live show, food and more. And we'll check you out. It'll be a lot of fun. My name is Bryce Koon. Ralph Leary, Will Manis, talking Florida State 2024 schedule predictions. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe as well on all podcast platforms. We'll catch you next time here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.